the smoke equipped, just wants to block off one side of the warehouse, or they're running out of the fields. It's not what you really want to see from Tede and Nando. They're just going to get dropped down by Jay and Diane.
Yeah, Defiant is going to have a bit of work to do here because Defiant are going to start to push in. Turtle cooks himself a grenade. That doesn't look like it's going to be quite on point just yet, but Levi's with this one might actually not be too bad. We'll see where that lands. Right on top of Teddy. No, it's gone a little bit too far. Big spray, though, from Levi's, and Defiant does fight hard. He's got at least a point now for his team, but he's the last one that's surviving, and it's not going to last for too long at all, is it, Xenox? Divine are the first team to get an elimination. It's from the future, out in 16th place with only 1 point on the board in game number 1.
Really well played from Divine Esports, coming in from an out position, having to breach that warehouse, played it superbly, didn't watch the situation, waiting for the knocks, they got them. They caught from the future, really napping there. 38 seconds till phase 5, and we haven't probably got the sort of bloodthirsty phase that we were anticipating. Teams have been able to sort of creep in. A couple of them, those still up north, Archangel Predator. If we don't catch the action, I'm sure the kill feed will, and that should very well say Archangel Predator killing Game Home very, very soon from what I can see on the map, and now what we can actually see on your screens, because not only are they in the blue, Jordan, but look at the elevation that Archangel Predator have here against Game Home. There is just no way out from that situation, surely, and Buriram may be able to do the same thing as well against Magic Esports.
Yeah, Magic Esports, though, have a bit of a sight line onto X Stadium. So far, not too prepared to fire those shots. We do see the circle shift coming in. And look, to be fair, this one was most likely going to go central, so all these teams won't be too surprised. Everyone has at least as fair of a chance of getting back into that one as they really can. Division X Gaming will be quite happy. Seems like their campaign here is starting pretty nicely in PCS2. Obviously, the winners of Charity Showdown here for the APAC region. Something else will fall to the blue. Archangel Predator kind of bullying Game Home a little bit here. Guess there's not really too much Game Home can do about it, apart from try and heal themselves up in the blue, but it's ticking quite a lot at the moment, isn't it? And Sylphie really only has seconds left to live, I'd say.
JKen, though, from X Stadium's just sort of popped up from behind, a bit of a third party. Momonji, though, does get the knockdown onto Vonotica, the usual star player for Day Trade Gaming, or at least the one that catches our eye the most, as Game Home Esports is finally eliminated. Now the push from MSC Theraton across the road throws out the smokes. Not only do they have to deal with the immediate threat, which is Day Trade Gaming, who are down to 3 players though, but also, as you can see, Archangel Predator do have that Overwatch vantage point. They are going to have to leave that position though due to the blue. So for now, MSC Theraton should be safe. Now in a 4 versus 3 against Day Trade Gaming, using their utility well, have now put themselves in a position to well and truly come out ahead here. They've got the numbers advantage, win this fight, then you can push into the next circle. So MSC have played this well for now, but of course you don't want to slip up. You make even one mistake. If you're 15% off your game here, Day Trade will punish you.
Absolutely, and not only that, Xenox, but they've got time against them as well. Blue is starting to push in, so MSC maybe wisely are going to be backing away from this fight. Astra on the other side of the map are in an engagement with Buriram. God Meow is able to finish off Nikus, get the knock onto Zoidmate, but he won't survive for long enough to keep himself in the game, obviously. Buriram still remaining with 2, but they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't they? Magic have got one side, Astra have got the other, and Buriram are in all sorts of problems here in Game 1 of PCS2.
This is a nightmare for Buriram United Esports. They looked like they had the ground covered at this portion of the circle, and unfortunately, though, they have been pinched in from both sides. Edie's now going to be smoked out from that building, and if he stays on the back side of this building, he may be also visible to Magic Esports. Although, maybe a reprieve for Edie is that Magic Esports might get pushed on by X Stadium very, very soon, as Astra are down a player. They did lose Nikus, but should be able to find their second kill here onto Edie. Zoidmate with a nade will get the knockdown. Buriram are only down to Kanaxi left, who is quite literally surrounded by 4 players of Magic Esports. He's not going to be able to get away. In fact, Astra could be the ones to steal this. Astra could even be the ones to sort of reposition themselves down in front of Magic Esports, clean up, They could be the benefactors here more than anyone's. Canaxi gets Tom K pushing up the stairs. A bit of a punishment here. Magic Esports have played this too slow. They're going to get punished. A second knockdown from Canaxi. He used flash the spray, trying to get the finish off onto the stairs here. Couldn't quite confirm it. Now does. Zoid just comes in from behind for Astra. Cleans them all up. Magic Esports have just gone poof like the Magic they are.
Well, Canaxi's still alive as well, by the way, so there is still someone that Astra needs to be aware of. Not only that, but X Stadium coming down from the hill. That's a really good, aggressive move from Astra. You can see they're thinking well about what they need to be doing. They're adapting maybe to this kind of more aggressive meta within the APAC region, and they're making it work, but I wonder whether or not Canaxi can be a thorn in their side, or if he's actually just going to give those points up to the blue. Victim Rise in the meanwhile. Dispatching of Bay. Neferhor knocked down by Jukesy. There's a big engagement going on between Fury and Bay, and that's on the other side of the map. Canaxi keeps himself alive with a med kit. Archangel Predator now under pressure from X Stadium. That's Marcus, who's picked up a point for his squad. And it's just, again, like you said, it's absolute madness. As soon as we get into these late-stage circles after such a slow start, there is fights all across the map, and you just can't catch everything.
33 alive, 12 teams at the 23.5 mark now. Game 1 of the night here for APAC. Slow start, but now the wheels have started turning. CJ, 18 for Archangel Predator. Putting the pressure on. They've gotten 3 kills. It's a decent start for the team that performed very well in the Charity Showdown. Missed out on PCS1, but have returned in place of Bahamut Gaming from PCS1. There goes MSC Theraton. Yankee2 off is going to be eliminated. Daytrade are still fighting. They're still punching. Puchel's even finding an elimination as well. Mapu probably going to be eliminated here, and CJ's not finished yet. He wants to clean up even more kills for AAP.
Don't know if Mapu's actually going to go down. Looks like he is being res back on up, and so Archangel Predator will have one more player to deal with. KT dealing with Daytrade Gaming at the moment, and CJ just keeps an eye on those smokes, ensuring that X Stadium is not going to have a free rotation in, but that's not going to go well at all for Archangel Predator. X Stadium are putting on a show at the moment here in game number 1, but perhaps they run into someone that's even a little bit better. Canaxi stuck inside the blue. He can't get out. He will fall. Booraram out in 9th. And X Stadium will continue to march forward. They've still got all 4 players alive. Mepu may still be picked back on up.
Man, it's not over yet up north either. Noctan from above does get tagged back though. Marcus still needs to be revived, and finally now is. What a start though for X Stadium. Their first appearance in the PUBG Continental series, and they're putting on a show right now. That nade's just gonna miss altogether. 7 points have now been acquired for X Stadium. There's 6 kills, but of course we're in the final 8, so placement points on offer. And from a distance, Extreme with a little doink headshot onto Noctan. 5 kills for Astra. They're also off to an amazing start. Cerberus still with 2 alive, 1 kill. Ghoul behind this box. How much further can he move though? How many more times can you just throw out these smokes and try and hold this position? That blue is now going to start moving.
I tell you what, I'd probably rather be Ghoul at the moment, to be honest, rather than X Stadium, because they are going to be stuck up on top of that cliff. I know Ghoul's not in a very good spot at all. I'm just wondering, how does X Stadium get off of this cliff without dying? Noctan is himself in a vehicle. Might just send things down. It looks like they're going okay for now. X Stadium actually aren't under too much pressure. I thought Divine might push up and try and cause some problems for them. Ghoul, he'll be knocked. So X Stadium continue to frag out, but I do wonder, once they're forced to move, once this blue does push in, is this going to be the end of the rampage? Because just looking at the terrain around them, where do they go?
What a start, though, can I just say, from these Vietnamese teams so far here for Game 1. It just feels like they're all just firing on all cylinders right now, led by X Stadium. Of course, great position, but where do you go from this position now? Diviner also in a good spot. Of course, Astra as well. Down to the south, Division X Gaming have been kind of quiet, but you can see the compounds that they're in. Whoa! Woohoo! Meow, you! What a shot onto Jukesy from that distance as well. We don't see too many bolties, Jordan, but that was nicely executed. 9 kills now.
Yeah, they're really ramping up quite nicely, are they? But again, time is of the essence for XS right now. They are stuck on top of that cliff. If they don't get a hard feed, things are going to be quite problematic for them. So they're really just trying to farm up as much as they possibly can before they're forced to move, before they're forced to jump off. And everyone else be damned. It is a southern shift, as we can see on the mini-map there, and that is going to be bad news indeed for X Stadium. Where do they go from here now?
They don't have to go anywhere, Jordan. They just stay shooting and firing and finding kills. Apparently, that's all that they're going to be able to do, and they're doing a pretty good job of it now anyway. Jken, 4 kills. Meow you with 3. What a start for them. And look, yeah, they're not going to probably be able to win this game. They're not going to get much more, if anything, for that matter. Divine Esports is sort of just waiting patiently below, waiting for these kills. Trying to come down, but I doubt that they're going to be able to do much. Although Miaoyu maybe could catch them off guard here because he has made it down. He's up to 75 health and can get close with the barrel.
It's really up to the timing here and whether or not he can find himself an angle. He's not in a bad spot, but he's making a bit of noise on the way down. JN perhaps seems a little aware. The Angel, though, from you, and he can win it. That's huge for XS. They can actually make their way down now, Xenox. They've got the knock on to JN. It's just Diane and Turtle left alive, but Victim Rise getting eliminated in the meanwhile. That won't help out XS. And I think they're done as well. They are indeed 7th place, but they got a lot of kills on the board, and that is still not too bad of a start at all.
Zoid may just eliminate Subang, so we're down to 5 teams remaining. Fury, Astro, make it 4 now, though, as Ronin is subsequently eliminated after. So Divine, Division X, KT, and Astra will remain. Fury do get at least 1 extra kill there with the bleed out from Ronin onto Sapao of Division X, who have got 3 players alive. 3 for Kaiser as well, and then 2 each for Astra and Divine. Down to Phase 8, 6 more seconds until Phase 9. Diane, 3 of the 6 kills. Zoidmate's got 4 of 6. The IGL, the Fragger, one of the best players from OCE, putting on a show right now as we are into Phase 9. We have our centralized position, and it's time for everyone to start making their way in.
Well, fans of the Oceanic contingent will be hoping that Zoidmate can keep up that good work. Smoke's in front of Astra for the moment, and they're just going to try and play this one slow. They'll let everyone else finish each other off. Banking on a 3rd place here. Divine is in a very, very bad spot right now, and that's going to be it. That's Divine out of the picture. Astra have at least secured themselves a 3rd place, and they are now equal first on the rankings. Obviously, that can change very, very quickly based on the result of this game, but they are certainly starting far better than what they did in PCS 1.
Kaiser Tuna and Division X as well. Good starts for these 2 teams who didn't participate in PCS 1. Of course, Division X have got history from the Charity Showdown, but that's so, well, it feels like a lifetime ago now, Jordan, that it really doesn't matter anyway. And that's all that matters is now Lynxie just gets literally shot into the air by Musate. So it will fall very much immediately afterwards, thanks to Long K from Division X Gaming. 8 kills for Division X Gaming. And it comes down to sort of Vietnam time. It's a 3. Division next with 3 as well. MBK knows that they're right in front of him. Long K on the road gets the knockdown to Style Chi. Just crossing, aggressive. The Vietnamese have just dominated game 1. They just wipe out Kaiser Tuna. 11 kill win. Division X Gaming looking to retake their crown here in PCS2 APAC. What a start, Jordan.
Yeah, well, what you're referring to, of course, is in Charity Showdown, Division X Gaming did finish off in 1st place. They actually started quite poorly. They weren't really up towards the top end of things until the 2nd week, but boy oh boy, in that 2nd week of Charity Showdown, Division X Gaming really showed up, and if they're already getting off to a good start here in PCS2, I think that's a scary prospect for a lot of the teams that are going to be potentially trying to chase them down. They may be the new Q confirmed.
They very well could be, Jordan. They very, very well could be. Of course, a long, long, long way to go, right? We've got another 23 games. You can't get too ahead of yourself. If you can back it up, though, Jordan, what I will say in terms of doing it 2, maybe even 3 games in a row, not necessarily the chicken dinners, but just being able to have good games. What Q Confirm sort of showed us in PCS1 is the blueprint. You start well, and then you can just lead from the front for the remainder of the tournament. Great start for Division X.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes your life so much easier as you go through the rest of the weeks. Again, remembering as well that we do have a bit of a changed format in that it's only 4 games a day over the course of 6 days as opposed to 5 games a day over 4. So maybe there is a bit of extra time for teams to sort of try and catch up, but even still, getting off to a good start like that, 21 points I think it was out of game number 1, is already putting them so far ahead of everyone else. Astra and KT sitting at about 12 points, Xenox, and those are the 2 in 2nd and 3rd, so they're almost double already what's on second and third. Now, it is only one game. You can't really read too much into that, but interesting start. I mean, again, you're looking at teams like MSC, someone that we thought might do pretty well, Buriram, Cerberus, all of these guys getting knocked out very, very early on in that round. So it does definitely shape things up for a pretty interesting day here.
It definitely opens up pathways potentially for multitude of teams to be able to contest, right? Which is really what you want. I mean, as much as we tried to sort of fluff things up for PCS 1, it really felt like it was over before it even started, right? Because it was just all Q confirmed from game 1. The same could potentially happen here, though, of course, if Division X Gaming just go on a tear tonight. But hopefully, we can see the contest really, really open up, which, I mean, besides Division X, I thought everyone else looked quite even. Of course, they're going to have a lot of teams on 0 points. This was a great push from Divine Esports, and I said it a few times during this game, Jordan, but the Vietnamese teams, they just looked on a different level so far in that game 1. We'll see if they can, of course, keep it up.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to actually think about that, isn't it? Because back in PCS 1, I think it was the Thai teams really that seemed to dominate, with Q Confirm coming in first, Buriram coming in second. So maybe it's time for the Vietnamese rosters to kind of show up a little bit here. They've got Division X Gaming back, the team that won Charity Showdown. And they seem like they've got a pretty strong, solid sort of competition amongst themselves within the Vietnamese region. A region also that we obviously like to talk about is the Oceanic region, Xenox. And I think actually for Fury and Astra, that's still a pretty damn good start as far as those two teams are concerned. Maybe Fury might have liked to get a little bit more out of it compared to, obviously the position that they were in. They did have 4 players alive fairly late in the game, and it looked like they might rotate in pretty well. But that great shot coming across from one of the XS players kind of put that to bed. So, a bit of bad luck there, I guess, for Fury. But nonetheless, still a pretty good start for both of the Oceanic teams as well. But here's the match leaderboard, and obviously at the moment this is the total standings as well. You can see Division X Gaming streaming out in front of everyone at the moment, and they are going to be off to a banger of a start.
Well, that's what I said, though, Jordan. Look at the top 5. 3 Vietnamese teams. Divine Esports, X Stadium, Division X Gaming. They have gotten off to a flying start. Kaiser Tuna leading the way for Thailand, and Astra leading the way for OCE on 12 points, tied with Kaiser Tuna, which is good news for Astra because at times, they've really throughout all of the PCS formats, Jordan, they've started very, very slow. This is their best start to any PUBG Continental Series tournament. Fury also good start for them too on 8 points already. As we look at the top 5 for damage, JCan, not a surprise from the position that X Stadium had for the majority of that game. They could basically just shoot at almost anyone in the server.
Yeah, definitely. And another XS player there is Mio Yu jumping in at 3rd place. So exactly what you're saying. And for X Stadium, we'll hope to see them being able to keep those kinds of numbers up. Another Fury player, this time it's Jukesy actually in the top 5. Traditionally, in the last season of PCS, it was Waiki Kamukau that seemed to really be leading from the front for Fury. And also no surprise really to see a Division X player in there as well. But I don't think you can read too much into the top 5 damage charts just yet. We're going to have to get a bit of a bigger data set than just the one game before we really start to sort of tick a few boxes and give people some accolades and that kind of thing.
Definitely agree with you, Jordan. Game 1, you can always sometimes overhype one game. Sometimes you can also underhype it as well, though. But I think in this case, we've probably hyped it up just as it should be, which is a great start for Division X. And for the teams that potentially haven't started as they would have liked, teams like Bay, for instance, 0 points, debuting for the Malaysia-Singapore slot, they'll pick things up. They will improve as we go on, along with many, many other teams. A team like Buriram United, for instance, a bit of an unfortunate game getting pinched from 2 different teams, Astra and Magic Esports, where it looked like they were in a good position. Everything was going great. And then, unfortunately, all sort of just folded in on top of them towards the end. So the game pretty much had everything. A slow start, a completely fanatic sort of ending as well, but also some really good PUBG led by sort of the Vietnamese teams. And I'm very much excited to see sort of what we're going to have in store for us tonight, considering it's only going to be 4 games. We've only got 3 more games tonight, 1 more in Miramar, 2 more on Erangel. So there's no room for any weaknesses, Jordan. You can't have really bad game 1s. You can't have bad game 2s, especially if you do, in fact, have a bad game 1.
No, definitely not. And we've already spoken about how easy things got for Q Confirm after they started off so well in PCS 1. Now in PCS 2, teams like Cerberus, teams like Buriram, who were expected to be top runners, teams that were really challenging for that first place, so far haven't actually got themselves off to that good start. So if Division X Gaming is going to be one of those teams that really does make that early run, yes, we're probably expecting to see Bura Ram and Cerberus and those kinds of teams being able to try and catch up. But playing catch up is so much more difficult than sort of being the one to defend that tile, to defend first place, because, you know, obviously you have to not only get the extra points, but you also have to hope that your opponent's not being able to have a great time on any given day as well. So I think that, yeah, obviously for Division X Gaming, they'll be feeling pretty happy. But these next 3 games, you know, the first day of PCS2 is going to tell us quite a lot when it does come to what we're expecting from the rest of the competition.
Buram's not the only one sort of that had a bad start. I mean, like, for example, MSC Theraton, right? I feel like maybe I'm overhyping this because obviously I don't get to see the Thailand series as much as those from Thailand, but these guys keep performing extraordinarily well in their own region. Guys like, Yoshim and Buri have been compared to people like Duckmans, for instance, and yet what we have now seen in PCS1 was they underperformed slightly, especially Yoshim and Buri. Not a good start here for PCS2 either. Of course, long way to go. Don't want to just sort of slam it on them, but of course they are going to have to pick things up along with the likes of Buri Ram United, for instance, as well. Another one is potentially Cerberus too, right? Like, we've got all these Vietnamese teams up top, and the team that's considered to be the best of them only got 3 points in game 1.
Yeah, I sort of thought, I've heard that Cerberus is coming in as one of the hot favorites. So to see them start off poorly, not great news. But I guess that's the benefit as well of being one of the better teams, is that, you started a little bit slow. It's still not too much of a concern. If you're an underdog, if you're one of the weaker teams coming in, you kind of need to be putting in those strong performances from the outset. But if you are one of the better teams, you should generally have faith in your roster and your ability to be able to come back in the late stages of the tournament, regardless of how you start. And obviously, we're benefited as well this time, Xenox, by having an extra 4 games. So that gives you a little bit more leeway towards the end of things. And over the long term, we're expecting these teams to sort of have a bit of a better time. The better teams, theoretically, if there's more games, should have more likelihood of being able to get themselves a top placing. So hopefully that's something that we're going to see for the likes of Cerberus and Buru Ram. They're going to obviously be looking to, bounce back here in game 2. Another one of the teams that we want to talk about, of course, Archangel Predator. They did pretty well in Charity Showdown, better than we actually expected for a team coming from the Philippines. They finished in 4th place. Yeah. They haven't really started off phenomenally today either. They got 3 points on the board, and they're sitting in 8th at the moment. So, look, it is early days. I don't think that there's really too much that you can say. Obviously, we're waffling on a little bit about one game, but it is what it is. And I guess, really, we just have to wait and see how things pan out over the rest of these games tonight.
The other thing as well is, and I know you sort of touched on it very briefly in the pre-game show, and it's not going to be as much of a factor potentially, is of course the difference between Miramar and Erangel. Not only that, but also sort of starting on Miramar. It's not the norm. We're used to starting on Erangel, so some teams that maybe started a bit sluggish could turn things around pretty quickly on Erangel.
Yeah, I suspect so. Obviously, we have spoken about that quite a lot in previous seasons as well, Xenox, particularly looking at teams like Fury, who had a pretty decent performance there on map number 1. But remember, they picked up 66% of their points on Miramar last season. So that's obviously a great start for them here, but you've got to think about the context of them being able to pick up more points on Miramar than they are on Erangel as a general rule. That goes all the way back to 2019 when we were casting them in ANZ Champs. So they want to have another good performance here on Miramar. Expecting them probably to slow down towards the later half of tonight. And obviously they want to make sure that they get those points on the board before that slowdown does happen.
Awesome. We're going to go to a quick break. On the other side will be game 2 on Miramar, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, everybody, for PCS2 APAC. We are very, very shortly ready to get into game number 2, which, of course, will be on Miramar. We saw Division X Gaming take out game number 1 in their return to the PUBG Continental Series. Jordan, it's been a long-awaited return for them, of course, as well, since the Charity Showdown all those months ago.
Yeah, definitely a good start for them, but also for Kaiser Tuna and Astra being able to get themselves a 2nd and 3rd place, respectively. XS, the team obviously coming through from Thailand as well. X Stadium, we thought, oh, what's going on here? These guys seem pretty sharp, and they were sharp indeed. They got themselves 10 kills in that game, so they're doing pretty well as well. Going all the way down to Divine and Fury, I think are probably the top 6 there, probably pretty happy with how things went in that first game. The rest, a little bit of work to do to sort of catch up on things. So we'll see how they go here into game number 2. Is the final map of Miramar tonight. Remember, we do only have 4 maps tonight instead of 5. And following Division X Gaming out of the plane, as they, of course, were the victors in game number 1. Great start for them. We'll see if they can go back-to-back, similar to what Q Confirmed did at the start of PCS1.
How good's this? Straight into the game. No dilly-dallying, messing around, straight in as we follow Division X Gaming, and we'll see whether or not they're going to be able to get 2 chicken dinners in a row. You're the stats guy, though, Jordan. You know this more than me. Was it Q Confirm who did, in fact, get 2 wins to start off PCS1?
Yep.
Awesome.
It was.
Well, that was. Thank you for the very, very short, abrupt answer. But hey, you
8 kills and 13 kills.
There we
wanted
go.
To know.
Yeah, no, I did want to know.
Yeah, so they really started off with an absolute banger. That's what, 18 points and then 23 points out of the first 2 games. I don't know what the maths is there. My maths on stream is not too good. But I remember them being at like 60 points or something like that after day number 1. Or very, very close to it, which was just unreasonable. Because you wouldn't expect... That was like 12 points a game. I'm pretty sure I remember that. They were like 12 points a game out of the first... Maybe it was even the first week. And we were just saying, like, yeah, you're not going to be able to keep that up. There's no chance you get 12 points a game over the course of 20 games. But realistically, do they even need 12 points a game anymore? No. They probably need like 6 points a game from here on out to make themselves pretty happy with the scoreline that they get. And to be fair, they did get about 6 or 7 points a game from the rest of the competition. They still won. So you put yourselves in a good spot out of week 1, out of day 1, and sometimes it's impossible to catch.
Division X Gaming, of course, though, and sort of what this all relates to, can now put themselves in that position where if they can have another 20-point game and you're sitting on like 40 points and maybe the next best is on 20, like you already then have a 20-point gap with still 22 games remaining. Now, that's the catch-22 of the situation, is that, of course, there's still a lot of games to play, but it's always better to have a lead than to not have the lead. You always want to play from the front, especially in a 24-game format, as Q Confirm sort of showed us last time out in PCS1. We'll see how it happens, though, see how it sort of transpires here for match number 2. And the other sort of side of the coin here, and I sort of brought it up as well in the break just with you, was, again, I mentioned it before, but starting with Miramar versus Erangel could have thrown a spanner in the works for some teams. Erangel, of course, is the traditional map. Some teams are still going to prefer it. Even after all these years, they're still going to have just better games on it, maybe be more prepared for it. And typically when it's the map you start the night on, and now it no longer is, it can kind of just mess with your synergy, I guess, as a team. So when we do switch over to Erangel, I'm 100% positive, in fact, and the stats usually back it up, there will be at least one team that will kind of switch with it from bad to good.
Or vice versa, from good to bad. I wonder what teams do feel about the change up to starting on Miramar. Like maybe we're reading into it a little bit too much, and maybe the teams really just don't care at all. But I do wonder, if you're a really strong Miramar team, do you prefer to start on Miramar and get off to a good start for the day, start to feel it there on Miramar? Or do you like to ease into things, maybe not have that pressure, play a couple of rounds of Erangel, start to get the aim on point, start to feel a little bit more, good going into the Miramar map? I don't know. I guess that's really down to the team mentality. And again, like I said, maybe we're also reading into it just a little bit too much as well. It doesn't seem to have affected teams like Fury, teams like Astra, who did pick up a lot more points on Miramar last season. They both had a pretty decent start to this season of PCS2, but definitely want to follow that up here in the second game. Now, something a little bit interesting going on here. Game home, God Nu, is hanging around near Cerberus. So far, Cerberus haven't seen him. but he's definitely aware that there's some Cerberus players nearby. You can hear Subang driving around at the moment. Probably expecting another player in that compound above him as well. So I do wonder, what are his intentions here? Maybe just to hide and make sure that he doesn't get into an early engagement.
Maybe he's just there to be the friendly neighbor. You're just putting too much assumptions here. He just wants to scout out, say hi, drop off some refreshments for Basil. Of course, though, in this game, the refreshments would be bullets to the head, but that's probably the plan. 3 minutes till phase 2, and I kind of anticipate that we're going to have another slow start to this game in particular on Miramar. Miramar just tends to have slower starts than Nerengale. It's just a fact.
Yep.
And whenever you're also at the start of a fresh tournament, teams, of course, are going to want to just play things a bit safe, a bit slow. What's intriguing, though, is that basically since Charity Showdown, then PCS 1, and now PCS 2, the APAC region just feels like it gets more and more passive with each tournament that goes by. Like Charity Showdown, by now we would have had 3 breaches and 10 dead. Like that's just the nature of what that tournament sort of played like. PCS 1 then became a bit more structured and even more so now here for PCS 2. Like at times during that first game, I felt like I was watching EU play style in terms of positioning and structure and no real breaches and teams just more so vying for position.
I guess, look, when there's $200,000 on the line, teams might start to adapt and not necessarily improvise, but play the game, quote unquote, the way it's meant to be played, as opposed to sort of just YOLOing around quite a bit more. I think the stakes are getting raised and the expectations are starting to be higher for the teams from the APAC region now, as well as we head into, obviously, the second season. So teams that have been around, that have been competing at this level for the last couple of seasons, are starting to elevate themselves to a better place, I guess. Bay, the team on the screen right now, featuring Flood and Neferhor, who are the ones on the rotate at the moment. A new site in PCS. They've been sticking around. They've been kicking around since PCS 1, in at least this iteration. But they didn't qualify for PCS 1.
There's a code, by the way, Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just,
put it in.
I don't know, just for someone who's maybe looking at their other monitor and wants to quickly try and jot that one down for the Pick'em challenge.
Yeah. Take a screenshot. It's probably easier. But yeah, I mean, interested to see how some of these newer teams, the ones that we haven't seen in PCS 1 or in Charity Showdown, are going to perform, Talking about the likes of Bay, the likes of From the Future, although we did have a From the Future roster. It was a different roster than the one that we've currently got. Game Home Esports we haven't seen before. Kaiser Tuna, Magic Esport. So quite a few teams that are fairly fresh faces to PCS.
Long K, you want to explain what's happened here? Or just turn you back and run? There's an interesting story, actually, and it involves our good friend Nicholas 101 with his new team with Hambino over in North America. Every time he would flip his vehicle, he would just say he actually ran out of fuel and he needed to pick up.
Right.
And they believed him for a good amount of time, actually, until they kind of caught on and wondered how his vehicles were always running out of fuel. And then they realized he was just crashing them that often.
That is quite strange, isn't it? And surely if you go to pick your mate up, you would see the flipped vehicle, wouldn't you? Or was he
You would think
specifically
so.
running away from the vehicle to just try and hide the fact that he's flipped it?
Well, I would say he was probably running away from the vehicle. Yeah, that would probably be the one. As we see Game Home continue to be sneaky. I don't think God News moved for very, very long. He has just stayed here waiting and watching as Basil just gets popped from behind. Haisaki trying to fire back, but they've already been invaded before they even realized. It was like a stealth operation converted by Game Home, and it's going to be successful. Mark is going to be flushed out. Maybe flashed as well at that point. Jaken, though, with the Hawk, is going to get the knockdown onto Levi's and Turtle, and all of a sudden Divine have just been sort of like they've walked into the spider's web of X Stadium. Marcus had to run, but he didn't have to run for long. Now he turns around and starts firing. 2 dead for Divine. In fact, it's 3 dead. There's only one left. It's Diane.
He's already hit the headshot into Diane as well. Nocturne does get knocked down, but that is not going to matter too much at all. He should be res back on up. X Stadium with the fast rotate in. Cavalry arrives, and again, a great start here from X Stadium. This is a bit more like it, Xenox. This is the APAC that we know and love.
Yeah.
The early game fights, the engagements, and they're all over the map as well. Cerberus did, of course, lose one earlier on in the piece. So one team out already, that's Divine. And one team having lost a player, that's Cerberus. Astra also seem to have a neighbor, at least for now. Whether or not that will end up being engagement remains to be seen.
Dangerous times here potentially for Cerberus as well. Buriram kind of close, not really close enough though. Decent nade, just goes underneath the Murado and away from Haisaki. But as you mentioned, this is very much what we are typically used to see in the APAC region. These early fights, early exchanges, some teams even breaching compounds, for instance, even though it's only phase 2. And well, there's typically enough space for everyone to find something. Nice knockdown from Nordra, who was one of the first players in game number 1 that was eliminated.
There goes the car.
It just keeps on going on from Haisaki, and another rough start potentially for Cerberus, down to just 2 players. Marcus is like deja vu. He's going to be sent packing from another compound. This time, can he get away? Yes, still. Just like last time, survives X Stadium, 4 kills, still 4 players alive as they're in the thick of the action early here for game 2.
Man, if X Stadium only knew that that was only 2 Cerberus players, they might have actually stuck around and tried to take that fight, because it would have been a 4-on-2. They'd be getting one of the main competitors out of the picture early on in match 2 as well. But to be honest, as far as X Stadium is concerned, if they can keep up the good work that they put in game 1, they'll be quite happy with themselves. Had a bit of a rough circle towards the end of things, but they certainly were fragging out, and I think they're actually the kill leaders at the moment as far as team kills go. So they'll be feeling pretty happy. Kaiser Tuna also here on your screen. They're quite far down to the southern part of the map. We'll see where this next circle shift does come in. Right on top of Picardo. That's an interesting one. Game Home do have a player right in the smack bang center of Picardo, so they'll be setting it right there as soon as they see that circle popping. Astra doing much the same. Probably a few teams to follow.
That's a juicy, juicy circle, Jordan. Can I just say that? Picardo is like the red dot of a dartboard, and everyone is just going to want to get the full points here. Astra, of course, are going to get there pretty early on. Game Home are close. What this can do, though, is it can actually... It can kind of slow the game down even further towards phase 4 and potentially phase 5. Although Picardo's not a large city, it can still kind of house quite a few players and quite a few teams. There's a lot of surrounding buildings around Picardo, though. Sapao, Division X Gaming. That's a nice knockdown onto Rossiter Jr. MSC Theraton still on 0 points, currently tied for dead last. They need to pick things up. I know it's only game 2, but you can't just be losing fight after fight. Yoshi Minburi, the MVP, jumps out of the window. Doesn't go for the shots, though. In fact, expecting to get shot at, goes for cover instead. Defensive play. Apparently nothing coming from that. Must have just run straight back inside as we cut away to the other 2 members of MSC who are actually in a fight with Archangel Predator. So we know that Yoshi Minburi isn't going to get any help over towards the other fight with Division X Gaming. They are split. They are in trouble. Well, Vega God does get the knockdown onto 1 member from Archangel Predator. It's a start, potentially, for MSC to try and get out of trouble here. Buriram United Esports just holding out towards the edge of the blue. Phase 3, just about closing in about 35 seconds time. And yet still throughout what's been more of a hectic start than game 1, we've still got 57 alive. Breach potentially coming in though. X Stadium pushing on the Magic Esports. Tonke got to get that knockdown and does. Executes it sublimely. So Labby as well in the other position will get Marcus. And for all of the good doings that X Stadium have been able to achieve, not only in game 1, but even at the start here for game 2. Now down to 2 players losing that fight pretty convincingly as well, might I add, to Magic Esports, a team that did struggle in game 1. And as we get our phase 4 circle, it will continue to shift down to the south, away from the mountain range, up north of Picardo. Picardo is still very much a central figure point. Noctan not giving up on this though, does lose Jken. 5 kills for X Stadium, but dropping by Loy side. Buriram as well towards Graveyard are getting some third-party shots in this. As Edie picks up a kill for Buriram United Esports, it's Boshi who goes down. Nordra picks up a kill too. Buriram well and truly on the board here.
Indeed, and that's a much better turnaround from what we saw at the start of today. For them, Archangel Predator under a little bit of pressure as well, having rotated into the circle. But they're still dealing with MSC, and they're not actually quite all the way into the circle. So they do have a fair bit of work to do here. I don't know who that is right up above them, but it's Carbs at the moment that's just watching the stairs. It's only one MSC player left alive, and indeed it is. This could be another 0-point game for MSC if Yanku can't get anything done. He's jumped out, he's donezo. And that is going to be that. MSC 2 games in a row with 0 points on the board. And that's definitely not the start that they would have been wanting here for PCS2. Great news, though, for Archangel Predator. Definitely opens up their rotate in, and they do keep 3 players alive as well. So things are looking good, at least for the team from the Philippines. Other teams that are quite happy, those that are set up inside of Picardo. Day Trade do have a 2-2 split at the moment. They're probably actually in the best position. Whether this goes north or south, they'll be reasonably okay. Astra have got all 4 players alive in Picardo, Game Home, as well as FTF. So those are probably the 4 teams that you keep an eye on here, unless we get a bit of a harder shift out towards the east or down to the south. Then maybe Bay or Fury will be quite well equipped. Either way, a few teams have got 4 players alive inside of the circle, and they'll be awaiting where this next shift is going to go in the next minute and a half.
Another poor game for MSC Theraton. They'll be stuck dead last after 2 games. A team that, once again, coming into PCS with so many expectations, falling short of the mark. Buram, though, definitely turned things around here for game 2. That's for sure. Already finding themselves climbing up the standings. That's a decent little maneuver from Tong K. And we'll send it in to Picardo successfully for Magic Esports as the solo player left alive. Nicely done. That could have really just kind of gone all ends up wrong.
Interesting.
As we look at the PCS2 champion predictions, Jordan. Stats. You love your stats.
I do love my stats. Fury are actually up quite high. To be fair, they did perform pretty admirably in PCS1. They took a 4th place, and a couple of the teams that actually beat them are now out of the picture. So, in fact, Buriram, the only team that performed better than Fury, is only slightly more favored. 157 points expected. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see that. We'll keep it tracking. MSC at the moment, the team that's supposedly 3rd likeliest to win, currently dead last, 0 points on the board. So, look, stats aren't everything. I'm a big lover of stats, as you know, Xenox, but MSC would certainly have been hoping for better.
Just want to sort of update everyone as well. As you may have seen in chat, the map stream is now live. PUBG Esports map on Twitch to keep up to date with the map at all times. Phase 5 we go. Shifts away from Picardo. Not good news for Game Home Astra from the future, as well as, of course, Tom K, the solo for Magic Esports. And all these teams, Jordan, that I mentioned now are going to be in this sort of chaos ball situation, trying to run out of a city, going into an open area circle. It's not going to be friendly. It's going to be great, though, potentially for Fury. I mean, Fury is probably in the box seat right now, potentially along with Bay. So some teams, of course, are always going to get the benefit of a circle. Others have got, well, some work to do.
Well, that was what I was talking about. You know, one of those 2 teams, or both of those teams, in fact, were really sort of praying for a bit of a harder shift down to the southeast, and they've both got it. Division X forced into a risky maneuver. They're going for the breach onto Day Trade. Luckily for them, it's only 2 Day Trade players here in this position, so they should be able to deal with it. But then MBK, the last alive, a wild spray. He can't connect the shots. It's all gone wrong for Division X Gaming. They're out in 14th. Day Trade picking up the majority of those kills. I think Astra might have snuck one as well. Oh, dearie me. Division X, it started well. They got the initial knock, but they haven't been able to do too much past that, and they're out now. So, chances for everyone else to catch up.
Absolutely messy for Division X game. But as you said, though, everyone else now gets a reprieve. They get a chance to catch up. Unlike what we saw in PCS1, Canaxi, though, from behind, Subang just completely unaware of Canaxi's position. Insight would have seen it all happening as he's been firing from this distance. Fury only the 1 kill, but 4 players alive. Decent position inside of the circle. Mind you, potentially a few more kills coming their way over the next couple of minutes. Cerberus are going to be eliminated. Ghoul is out. Insight, Jukesy finding kills. And like I said, their time of kills are coming now. Bay, though, going to get pushed on. There's the remnants of Division X Gaming here at the bottom of Day Trade. Still Calbot trying to stay alive for Archangel Predator. Just going to get mollied to death by Flash. That's one way to get a kill. 11 teams left, 34 alive. Great game from Day Trade so far. And of course, top spot now sort of up for the taking after the second game does end here very, very soon.
My question is, how long is Day Trade going to keep this 2-2 split going? Because if Venotica and Puchil stick around a little bit too long, they might actually get themselves caught in a big crossfire between 4 or 5 teams. You can see it's Astra at the moment that are trying to get out of Picado. They have the numbers on the board, but Magic's there as well. So is FTF, although I think FTF is now out of the picture. Magic might be donezo as well. Everyone coming out of Picado is not going to be having a very good time. I see Extreme now knocked down as well, so Astra have lost 1. FTF does get eliminated in 9th place. And Day Trade, well, that 2-2 split seems to be working out for them. Venotica being able to farm up a storm on all of those teams trying to get out of Picado.
X Stadium, so that's what, first place out, second place out as well. Astra currently down a player right now. Bureau United are just on a tear right now for game 2, looking to close Miramar off in great fashion. Unfortunately for Bay, while they had a good position, just unable to win the fights when it matters. Flood, the last one, alive. They have got a point thanks to the placement position inside of the top 8. That's the only point they've got so far now in the first 2 games. Fury just watching, trying to feed onto Bureau United outside this compound. There's a huge opportunity, Jordan, for Fury to potentially win this game. Even a team like Astra, for instance, up north, if they can clean out Day Trade from that point onwards, they'll have 4 alive. They've got already a decent amount of points gathered over these first 2 games. It's a really good start for the 2 OCE teams. Unfortunately for Bay, horrible start.
It's pretty wishful thinking, though, I think, for Astra to get rid of Day Trade at the moment. They are really stuck inside of a crossfire. The 2-2 split does still persist for Day Trade, and even now you can see Flash has gotten the knock and the kill onto Zoidmate. Lynxy suffering what looks to be much the same fate, and this will be the breach from Day Trade. They know that there's only 1 player left alive for Astra, so they're going to try and get aggressive, finish these guys off. Grenade does go through. Don't know if it did. Well, either way, I think it might have. The molly certainly stuck, and that's going to be that. Astra's out in 6th. Not a bad start again, though. To be honest, for Astra, you can take that. They stay in 4th place. And for the Oceanic contingent, the fans over there, their eyes turn to Fury, who might be in a position to have one of those Miramar games that we all know and love, Xenox.
Potentially, but now I kind of just put the ball into Day Trade Gaming's court, right? They've already gotten a ridiculous amount of kills this game. They've now got the position inside of the circle that I thought Astra would have had. It's a pretty decent spot. They could go on and win this game, claim first place for themselves after 2 games. Of course, as he said, though, definitely can't count out Fury. Buriram on the move as well. I mean, right now, the teams we kind of expected to be doing well are doing well, minus a couple. Likes of Cerberus, for instance, I really thought they'd be inside of the top 5 or 6, even after 2 games. They're
MSC?
Definitely, MSC as well. Those 2 teams missing more so than anything.
Most definitely, but Buriram certainly are bouncing back very, very well after a poor game 1. Already back up to 6th place. They've got 14 points on the board. Been fragging well. They may just run into Fury. Having a look at that circle shift, though, it's not too favorable for Fury. Certainly very good for Buriram, though. It means they don't have to move too far. Game Home, sitting kind of in the center of the map, are almost gatekeeping Victim Rise and Day Trade out of the circle a little bit. So perhaps, again, this is an opportunity for Fury to either consolidate their position inside of the circle and deal with Buriram, or try to get aggressive and deal with the players rotating in. It looks like they've gone for a bit of both. They've gone for a bit of a split here, Fury. Waikiki Mukau has gone central, spots out Edie, cleans him up. Needs to be wary, though. A player on his right. And Canaxi will trade back down for Edie, who is finished off by Waikiki Mukau. But similarly, Nordra will get the finish on to Waikiki. So it's a 1-for-1 trade in the end there for Buriram and Fury. But they both know where one another are. And Fury turn their attention away from dealing with Buriram for the moment. Jukesy double tap onto Genfoss. That's the end of him, and that's the end of Victim Rise as well.
Down to 4 teams remaining here for game 2. Day Trade still with 4 players alive, and they keep pushing closer and closer towards game home. Buriram United, decent position. And right now, while Fury had been good, they are down to 3, and their potential to be pinched is coming up very, very soon. They do spot, though, all of game home sitting inside of that shack down onto Selfie. They've got Molotovs, potentially nades as well from Venotica. Just cleans them up in one go. 14 kills now for Day Trade Gaming. 6 to Venotica, not a surprise. 22 points, and they're on the verge of claiming top spot after 2 games. 3 teams remain, Day Trade, Fury, and Buriram.
Well, Canaxi is going to be the thorn in the side for Fury, but if no one deals with Fury, they are the ones with the high ground, and they'll be the ones to dictate how this game plays out. Canaxi has dropped Ronan, though, with a headshot, and that is really now where Buriram and Day Trade need to try and get some more pressure onto Fury. If they let this res happen, Fury can really continue to dictate how the game plays out. Buriram aware of it. They're pushing up the hill. So is Day Trade. They know that they need to get Fury off the top of this hill.
10 kills for Buriram. Day Trade with, what, 14? Fury, decent amount as well. 3v4 in favor of Day Trade Gaming. Coming in from the south, close by Fury. Fury have got the high ground against Day Trade, but then, of course, they can be third-partied by Buriram United. Flash will just come up like a flash of lightning. Just gets 3! Oh, my goodness. They didn't even have a chance to react. They are just cleaning up the server. Day Trade Gaming are well on their way to claiming their first win here. I don't think Buriram can stop them right now. A 20-kill win surely is coming up.
That is going to be a huge win from Day Trade Gaming if they are able to get it over the line. Canaxi has got the knock, though, onto Venotica. I don't think we can count Buriram out just yet. Remember the magic of Nordra in PCS 1. Buriram, a team that started poorly here in PCS 2, but was greatly expected to perform well. They came second in PCS 1 behind Q Confirm. And a win here would put them right back in the discussion. Already they're back in the discussion, back up to 18 points. How many more can they get, though? 4 points on offer from the kills. Maybe another 4 from the placement.
Well, I could just say, Jordan, if game 1 was all about the Vietnam teams, game 2 is now all about Thailand. Well and truly, Day Trade and Buriram have just led from the front here and said, well, don't get too cozy off one game. In game 2, we've already shown what we are now capable of, and it feels like a boxing match. Round 1, Vietnam. Round 2, Thailand.
Which team from Thailand, though, is going to be having the success? Quite a slow start to this 2-on-2. 1-on-1, I should say, between these 2 teams. It's a 4-on-3, though, as far as players are concerned. Venotica does hit a nade onto Nordra, and that is great news for Day Trade. They're going to be able to put the pedal to the metal here now, throwing all that util, and flashes going through, stuns going through. Venotica throws another grenade, and Norins catches Canaxi. It's just 1 player left for Buriram, but it won't last too long. Day Trade complete almost the perfect game. That's a huge win for them and puts them right up to the top of the standings.
20-kill win. Day Trade Gaming are here to play. 7 to Venotica, 5 to Flash, and that quick 3K transfer at the end was sensational. Lawrence as well with 6 kills. These guys are here not just to participate, not just here to make up the numbers, Jordan, but they are here to try and get the win. Here for PCS 2. They very well can do that. They take top spot. I know it's only game 2. Buriram as well have also been able to get back into the frame, the picture, right? Because they started game 1 pretty poor. Now for game 2, they're back already. You can't count any of these teams out after 1, even maybe 2 bad games. So in saying that, these teams, have they sort of given a pathway for something like, say, MSC Theraton to get back into it? We'll have to wait and see, but it's all about day trade after that one.
Well, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's if one team can go and grab 2 or 3 good games in a row, then everyone's thinking, oh crap, now we're going to have to try and catch back on up. But because Division X has such a poor performance there, teams like Fury, teams like Buriram are now actually starting to knock down the door of the team that got the round 1 victory. So, I mean, you know, is the argument is there, is it better to have those 1 big games, or is it better to have 2 or 3 pretty consistent games? So far, Fury are going for the latter. They've got 5th place with 5 kills, a 3rd place with 6 kills, 2 pretty decent results. Buriram, 9th place in game 1, 2 kills, but a great bounce back here. 2nd place in game 2, 10 kills. And of course, Day Trade Gaming, how can we go without speaking about them? 1st place, 20 kills. When was the last time you saw a 20 kill win, Xenox? That's 30 points in one game.
Yeah, especially for PCS APAC as well, as you said. It's a huge amount. Maybe Q Confirm got close to it. I don't know if they actually cracked the 2-0 in PCS 1 at any point.
No, they didn't. 13 was their max.
Not good enough either from Battle Arena Elite, so I'm going to definitely start to put the pressure on them, along with MSC Theraton too. 2 teams I would have expected more from, and honestly, if I'm going to round it out to 3, Cerberus. Those are the 3 teams, in my eyes, that really need to pick up the pace when we switch over to Erangel. Fury did really well with their position that they had. I mean, you know, you talk about, do you want to sort of play for consistency? What a nade, though, from Veronica. Or get those big games. I don't think Fury would be sitting back and saying, Jordan, yeah, we loved our 5-6 point games. They would want a 20 kill win. If you only have a 20 kill win, and then maybe you get a 5 kill win after a 5 kill performance after that, who cares? You always take those big games when you can get them.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I would take a 20 kill win any day of the week. Obviously, we can't talk about the good without talking about the bad, though, Xenox. And so far, MSC, FTF, both haven't been able to pick up a single point on the board. Battle Arena Elites as well, only the 1 point so far. So this is the match leaderboard. This is not the total standings, but 30 points from one game. I really can't remember the last time I've ever seen a 20 kill win, to be honest. Xenox has not happened in PCS so far, not in APAC Season 1, not in Charity Showdown. Buriram United, I mean, they get 16 points out of it. You think that'd be pretty good, but kind of pales in comparison to 30 points.
I mean, there's to put it into this perspective, Jordan, right? After 2 games played now, no team has got 30 points as a whole. Now, fortunately for everyone else, Day Trade Gaming had a pretty subpar game 1. They only picked up the 3 kills, so they're going to be on just 33 points in total. It's not like they had a Division X game in game 1, for instance, where they picked up the 20 or so points. So they could have easily been then potentially on 50 points. This is what we were talking about sort of at the start of the game in relation to Division X, who did bow out very early. In fact, it was like 14th with 2 kills. So they gained very, very little. But looking at sort of the total leaderboard as a whole, and we'll get to that very shortly. Damaged for the top 5, no surprise, of course, the Day Trade guys and Buriram as they went all the way to the end. But the bottom 4, Jordan, MSC Theraton, Bay, Cerberus, and From the Future, 3 out of 4 of those teams I would have not thought would be in the bottom 4. I know it's only 2 games in, and Day Trade has shown us how quickly you can turn things around, but they've got to pick it up here going into Erangel.
100%. You know, we talk about this all the time. Getting off to a bad start is fine. But how often do you actually see a team come back from such a deficit? You know, you're now 33 behind number 1, which is like a day's worth of points trying to catch up almost. You know what I mean? So, to be honest, there aren't really that many opportunities left. Like, I know we've still got 22 games, but are you expecting Day Trade to slow down? Are you expecting Division X to slow down? Not necessarily. So FTF and MSC definitely need to be putting in that hard work. So does Bay, so does Cerberus. I mean, even all the way up to Victim Rise, who are still only on 8 points. There's a lot of teams that are starting to get left behind. We're only 2 games in. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of work to be done by those teams.
I definitely agree with you. In saying that, though, when you say, for instance, are there a lot of opportunities? Of course, there are an immense amount of opportunities still remaining. 22 games, in fact. So for those 3 teams that I mentioned, Cerberus, Bay, MSC, there is a plethora of chances still for them. But I think the point you're making now is, while you've still got those chances, you're now playing from a deficit of like 30 points, right? So for the remainder of the tournament, you have got this constant reminder